welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Guys. I'm your host, Luke, with my co-host, East Coast Brad.
Glad to be here. It's going to be a good week. Great
on
sports
this-
week. Great week in general.
Yes, great. Happy Thanksgiving. This is going to be coming out on Black Friday before the games kick off. That's the goal. But today we're going to be giving you our picks for the week. And I think we got a pretty good slate of college games, a slate of NFL. But let's just jump right into. You got anything to add, Brad?
No, it's great rivalry week, Thanksgiving week, and a lot of good NFL matchups on top of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just days straight of football. I can't wait.
And we're just gonna eat food and just hammer overs and
planning
parlays.
my halftime nap for the 4:00 game.
Yeah.
Minutes. Get the system back in gear.
Dude, I feel that. All right, let's hit college first. This game that we're going to talk about is Oregon State at Oregon. Oregon's favored by 13.5, over under 62.5. I think this game's got this is the last time. No, they'll play. I think they'll play next year. I think them and the Apple Cup are playing until 2028. So that's awesome. This is one of the rivalries that kind of goes under the radar for a little bit because Oregon was dominant for like 10 plus years. And now Oregon State's kind of won a couple of games. But yeah, I think this has a chance to go over points wise. Bo Nix is real well. And I think DJ is going to be playing real well as well. So it'll be interesting. But Brad, what's your take?
I'm eyeballing definitely Oregon here a little bit because I think the Oregon defense is become almost underrated. You look when they play these other kind of quote unquote high power offenses, they've relatively shut them down. Like most points they gave up this year, I think, is to Washington. It is.
Yep.
At 30, that's only 36 points. That Oregon defense is real good, and Oregon State is a different team on the road, a not as good team for sure. DJ looks like a solid quarterback, but we know what he can also be. We saw him at Clemson not be that great.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun matchup. Is this what time does this game go? 30 Eastern. Love that. That's a great game.
Yeah, that's a night game. So it's going to be it's at Autzen though. So that
it's at Autzen.
So I think that might be. Yeah, they do show up. They do show up, and it is called the Civil War for a reason. Yeah. So I think it could be an interesting. I think I do have a pick on this. So I'm not going to really go in. Well. Yeah, I've got a pick on this one as well. But that's kind of our thing. Brad.
Yeah.
Texas A&M at LSU. LSU is favored by 11.5. Over under 66.5. What's your take? I'll let you give your take first.
This LSU team has definitely come on. The defense is still terrible, but they've really started firing all cylinders on offense. They played some cupcakes, but even that Alabama game, you saw like high power that offense could be, and we basically didn't target our number 2 receiver for like the whole entire game.
Yeah.
It's a stud offense. A&M's not looking great at the moment. Being at Death Valley, last game of the year, gonna be loud, gonna be ruckus. It's I feel pretty confident going in as an LSU fan to this game, more than I have in a little while. I hope to end the season on a high note outside of whatever bowl we get stuck in, which it is a big win for bowl seeding. I think this will get us in a little bit nicer of a bowl. I think it's gonna be a good game. I don't think it's going to end close, but I think it's going to be close.
For sure. I think this game is Jaden Daniels throwing for like 400 yards and 5 touchdowns and cementing his Heisman moment, even though I still think that Penix Jr. has a chance to do it. But I don't really have much to add. I haven't watched LSU, and I mean Texas A&M has Elijah Robinson, who coached under Matt Rule. Who is in the interim head coach. No offense, Texas A&M fans, but I hope they don't hire him so that he can come back to Matt Rule and be the defensive coordinator if Tony White leaves, or at least be a recruiter for us because that guy knows how to recruit, especially in Texas. He's a hell of a recruiter. So, but I do like LSU in this 11.5. I think, especially playing at home, I think that's pretty much a lot. I would.
At home too, right? Like they're I just mentioned with Oregon State, they're a different team home versus road. LSU is a different team home versus road.
Yeah, it's crazy how night and day they're different.
Yeah, and then home at night is another one. This is a noon game, noon kickoff or 11 o'clock kickoff for them. Yeah, so won't be a night game, but still be fired up down there.
And as always, the Iron Bowl Alabama at Auburn. Alabama is favored by 14. Over unders 48.5. My take on this is Alabama should spank Auburn. Should absolutely beat the brakes off of Auburn. Will they? I don't know.
Iron Bowl.
The last couple of years,
like
every single year, it's come down to a field goal, a late touchdown, and it might join the Colt Classics. I mean, Hugh Freeze beat Nick Saban not once but twice at Ole Miss.
Yep, very true.
And I mean, it's very possible Alabama could come out and lay an egg. But then again, there's the opposite of the coin. Alabama could come out and just absolutely them.
Yeah.
Just absolutely destroy them, which I think is more likely.
That's kind of where I'm leading to. I think Miller really found his confidence. And they've almost kind of become a little bit with that Kentucky game, and even in the LSU game a little bit, they've kind of become a bit of front runners. Like they just, in Tennessee, similar. They just kind of got out to like 2 touchdowns early in the game, moving the ball, and they didn't really have to put a lot of pressure in Milroe in stress situations. They were like, go and score early, and then we'll just kind of coast. They figured out what they need to do with him, and he looks not like a running back anymore. He looks like a legit quarterback. Next year, Milroe is going to be interesting. Like really, really interesting quarterback.
Well,
really interesting, like profile.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of the 2025 class is going to have a lot of interesting quarterbacks. Like, is Carson Beck going to be the starting quarterback, or is it going to be Dylan Raiola?
Yep. I'd like Beck a lot, though. We're not talking about the Georgia game. Yeah, I'm not talking about Georgia, but Beck looks awesome.
He's looked pretty good down the stretch, but
plays to his strengths. He knows where he can't throw the ball.
I mean, he literally all he has to do is just get the ball out to the playmakers, and it's kind of like the same thing that people were saying about AJ McCarron, Bryce Young, Mac Jones, like all those teams. Like, yes, they have great guys that he can get the ball to, but if you can't get the ball to them, then it doesn't matter. So, I mean, he's not terrible by any means, but he's also he's on third base. Let's just say that.
We'll see how he develops, right? Like, let's see him get some adversity where they're not just like kind of dominating every single team they play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Georgia didn't just pay for the Raiola family to move to Georgia to play high school football. And not think that he's probably going to play next year or compete for the starting job. Yeah. And let me tell you, the Raiola situation really sucks because his dad was an All-American at Nebraska, and he's a Hall of Famer at Nebraska, and his uncle is the offensive line coach.
Goodness.
Yeah, they tried to salvage that. Honestly, I hope what happens is that he doesn't get enough playing time at Georgia. Like Carson Beck just has a stranglehold on it. He transfers to us. We go on a run.
Knows where he can get playing time no matter what, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe that's the key. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's play.
But and now to the game, not the game that I'm. I am excited to see this game.
It's impossible not to be excited.
It is impossible not to talk about this game and be like, oh, well, we got Ohio State at Michigan. Michigan is favored by 3. Over-under is 45.5. This is where all of the bullshit that's been happening the last couple of months when it comes to a head. And as I would say, ball don't lie.
Yep.
Ball don't lie.
It's for the Big Ten championship, really, right at the end of the day.
No, literally,
because they're gonna smoke.
It's whoever gets the right to beat the holy hell out of Iowa.
Yeah, basically, right. Like that's it. They're
gonna be a 20-point favorite. The Big Ten championship. Oh, you get to play Iowa.
You're a 20-point favorite.
I'm not even kidding. It might be. Yeah. It might be a 14-point spread. I think it might be close.
Like I think 21.
I think it might be close. Well, I think it might be closer if Ohio State ends up winning.
Yeah.
Ohio State is playing good. Kyle McCord's playing a little bit better. I still don't think he can make big plays. He's gonna have to play his best game to win to beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And Michigan's coming out with a lot of swagger. I hope that there is a tussle. There always is.
Oh, there has to be.
There always is, and I want it so bad because that's what makes good rivalries is when there's been consistent, like the two fan bases
Yeah.
loathe each other.
Oh, they're going to be
and
going
it's
at before the game starts, right? It's
I
gonna be, we're going to
hope.
get the video at like 11:30 in the
Oh,
morning, 11 o'clock. It's like guys
it's
are lining
great.
up at the 50-yard line, like jawing at each other. We're going to get that 100%.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It's gonna be so much fun. I don't know. I think I have a pick on this game, but I don't know if I feel too confident about it.
But I feel confident on my lean.
Okay.
Largely because I'm a little concerned about Michigan. One, I kind of bring it up every week. College football a lot of times comes out of quarterback and coach, and you don't have your coach.
That's fair.
A negative. And two, McCord looked not great last week. He threw one pass in the second half. And the game was close against Maryland, and he looked limp and gimpy.
You mean JJ McCarthy?
Or JJ McCarthy. Sorry, not Kyle McCord. JJ McCarthy looked limp and gimpy. He didn't look healthy at all. And Croydon didn't look great. I'm a little nervous about the Michigan team, and at some point it's going to rear their head, like the ugly head of all this stuff has come to light. No hardball in a big game scenario against Michigan or against Ohio State. Like, that's scary. You'd rather have hardball there. So I do a pick on this game, but you can probably tell where I'm leaning in that sense, especially as the line is moving actively.
Really?
It's been bouncing a little bit between the 3 and 3.5 number.
Oh, okay. We got it at 3.
Yeah, I got a bet in earlier when it was around 3.5.
Okay, I agree with the whole McCarthy not,
being
but
healthy.
like here's the thing: Michigan has won the last 2 by just running the ball.
Yep.
And Ohio State's run defense has not been stellar this year.
No.
Teams have been able to run for 150 yards successfully, and I think that's why that line is going from 3 to 3.5 to back to 3. Because even if JJ doesn't throw more than 25 times, we say, if they have 150 yards, they're winning that game.
It does feel like a game opportunity for Brett Corum gets 50 yards, but 3 touchdowns or something weird like that, right?
Or Dylan Anderson, last year.
They're just gonna punch it in a bunch of times from the 5. Those guys aren't gonna get a ton of yards. It's gonna be real spread out between the guys, but they're gonna get a bunch of rushing touchdowns. JJ McCarthy won't have a passing touchdown, some weird stuff like that. It'll just
probably
rush, right? It's gonna be one of those weird ones where he plays really well, but you look at stat line after, it's no touchdowns and a pick or something. That's weird.
And the fact that I think they're just gonna use the run to just methodically go down the field. And I think they can do that. Yeah, I think they can. It's going to be interesting. It's always fun watching this. Yes, it sucks. College football is coming to an end this week, but we still have conference championship weekend and then bowls. We got to figure out what we're going to do about. Well, we can just pick the best bowl games and we'll just
we might just have to have a NFL winter meeting situation. We sit down for 20 minutes before pick all our bowls.
Yeah,
who are interested in seeing playing. That might be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Now to the game that I'm going to just give you some points on.
Oh, let's hear them.
Iowa at Nebraska. Nebraska favored by 2.5. Over under is 26.5. In some sports books, I have seen as low as 25.
Yeah, I saw that number from 26.5, 26, 25.5 earlier today as I was checking throughout the day.
That is the lowest over-under in college football history. I'm not proud that that the Huskers are involved in that. Right now, we do know that Chuba's going to start, and I think that is huge. What I want to happen is for San Fran to absolutely boat race the Seattle, and Brock gets on a plane and comes to Lincoln and watches his little brother play.
Get everybody fired the hell up.
That's what I want. That would be so cool. That'd be kick-ass. And plus, Brock has beaten Iowa. Yeah, Brock has beaten Iowa.
Yeah, he did. Right?
He beat Iowa.
Maybe twice.
Oh, maybe a good luck charm?
Yeah.
Huskers are playing well. Okay, I won't say well. They've made some mistakes coaching wise, blah blah blah. You heard us talk about it on Wednesday's podcast, but I think I've got myself talked into Nebraska winning this game. Something just doesn't feel right with that Iowa team. Obviously they won the Big Ten West, but really the Big Ten West is oh, who do you want? Who wants to win so that they can get boat race in the Big Ten championship against Ohio State or Michigan? And Iowa just decided to win it. It was up for grabs for 3 straight weeks where nobody wanted it. Everybody just kept losing and losing and losing. This is the philosophy I'm going to take. Hungrier dog runs faster.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's got more to play for. Iowa doesn't. And I think Rule has gotten these guys prepared to win close games. They beat Iowa by 7 last year too. And I think they want to keep the momentum going to us Iowa. 6 years in a row.
God, yeah. I'm just looking at that head-to-head right now. That
was getting real old.
Close games too for a lot of us.
Yes. 1-score games against a Iowa team that has that
56 points against you. I didn't know Iowa knew how to count that high.
That year we turned the ball over like 3 or 4 times and they scored all of them on defense. So,
I didn't know that was possible for an Iowa football team.
Yeah, it's because their defense scored. There wasn't their offense. So and here's the thing. This is what is going to happen. Okay? First quarter, second quarter, like the first half, be close. It'll be close as hell. Third quarter will still be close. Then one of the teams are going to slip up. Doesn't matter which one. But the one that does isn't going to win the game. It'll be a late fumble, pick, something. And I think with Purdy, he gives you a lot more versatility to make plays with his legs. He proved it last week with a 55-yard rushing touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that spot. Now, Iowa's defense and Iowa's offense, they don't kill themselves. And that's the one thing about Iowa that they do not turn the ball over. They might not score points, but they do not turn the ball over.
It's like playing a military academy school.
No,
right? Like
literally.
It's the same mindset. Yeah, it's like where they might run the triple option at some point, but they're not going to turn the ball over and like they're going to be super disciplined. And
the thing is like they'll have an all-American punter. Their punter is the best player on the team, and I'm not even trying to be a dick. Like that's literally it. Like everybody jokes about it because they know how to play defense and punt the ball. That offense, if you can stop the run, they have to throw the ball, and Deacon Hill ain't that good.
No.
And our defensive line has kind of slowed down sack-wise, but they're still great. Nash gets pressure. Ty Robinson gets pressure. They're going to go after Hill, and I think they might have some success, but they have to stop the run first. They got to plug up holes. They got to linebackers have to fill those holes, make sure that their running back doesn't get more than 2 yards a carry. Yeah. And it's just, that's how this game has played. Every single year it's come down to field goal or late touchdown, just like it's a rivalry game. It's time to show up. It's time to be this is for bowl eligibility, and I think hungry dog runs faster. But obviously I have a pick on this. Speaking of picks, unless Brad, you got anything to add?
No, I think we covered all the big matchups. I don't think we missed anything.
Okay. All right. Brad, your first pick for college football pick'em.
My first pick, we're going to Oregon State. I have Oregon minus 13.5. I do think this is a completely different Oregon State team on the road. I think this Oregon's team's defense is completely underrated. I kind of talked about it earlier in the pod this week. I think this team would still be 10-1 without Bo Nix. And that offense is real good, and the defense is way better than we think it is. And Oregon plays well at home. Oregon State does not play well on the road. I would not take this line if it was the other way around, but I think Oregon's going to get out ahead. It feels a game to me that's going to end up being like 30-something to 13. They're just going to kind of stymie the Oregon State team.
Gotcha. With my first pick, I'm going to Missouri versus Arkansas. Missouri's favored by 9. Over under is 55.5. I'm riding with Missouri, man. Missouri's a good ball club. They're the second best team in the SEC East. I think they're probably going to be playing for a New Year's Eve bowl. I hope they play Iowa so that they can absolutely rock them. And nothing would make me happier seeing Nebraska and Missouri beat Iowa in 1 year. So I'm going to take Missouri -9, and especially off of a team that like Arkansas has really struggled this year. Everybody was kind of really high on them, and Cody Schrader, or Corey Schrader, or Cody Schrader. Yeah, he's having a hell of a year. Brady Cook is also having a good year, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And Luther Burden, who I think should, in my opinion, should win the Biletnikoff Award, playing well as well. So give me Mizzou minus.
I mean, there's a guy named Malik Neighbors playing down Baton Rouge. looks pretty good.
Anyway, that's my pick.
My number 2, we're going. So we've talked with the big game of the week, Ohio State, Michigan. I talked a little bit about the angle and the lean I was going on with this. I'm going to take Ohio State plus 3.5. I don't know if they win this outright, but kind of what I laid out was the fact that I'm not confident in JJ being healthy. I'm not confident in the rushing the rushing attack from Michigan that slowed down a lot from the beginning of the year once they started playing better offenses. And I think Ohio State's finding a little bit of stride. I think Ryan Day is a very solid coach. You got a Michigan team without Jim Harbaugh. I'll take a points with a team going against a banged up quarterback and not their head coach. It's kind of just when you can't find a line on a game, simplify it down. That's what I'm looking at.
I'm going the opposite, Brad.
Oh,
my second pick. I'm going Michigan -3. I don't have any faith in Ohio State's run defense, and I think Blake Corum is due for a big game. And Dylan Edwards had a huge game against them last year. No matter what, like they've won without Harbaugh. They won against Harbaugh. Yeah. They won without Harbaugh the last 2 weeks, and they both have been really tough games. They find ways to win. I think Michigan is more prepared, maybe because they're stealing signs, but I do like Michigan here -3. It's always a close game, and I it's not that I like Michigan a lot. It's that I don't like Ohio State's defense.
I feel you.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So kind of the opposite of how you feel about Michigan's offense is how I feel about Ohio State's defense. So that's where I'm at.
It is an interesting too. We didn't have a pick on it, but the over/under I was looking at a lot in that game.
Yeah, over/under 45.5.
45.5, and it kept moving down. It opened higher.
And
that scared me away. It was like 47, 48.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
It was much higher, and then I looked and I was like trying to grab it at a 46 number. And by the time I checked a little bit later in the day, I couldn't get it to 46, and I did not feel good about the 45. And weirdly, this game keeps going up somehow. So I just backed off that. It felt like it should be an under, and then I saw previous history, number going down, must be a lot of bets coming in. I just backed out.
That's fair.
So my third pick, over under here, Texas A&M at LSU. We are taking the over 66. I think 66 flat was the number I got it on. LSU is 9-1 for the overs this year.
Hell yeah! I love a team
slammed overs. They have just gone. Yeah, they have gone after teams. Their defense gives up points, but their offense scores like it's nobody's business.
Yeah,
feels that 66 number is high, but like you're telling me this couldn't be like a 37-33 game, and no one would be shocked. These defenses are that great, and LSU makes bad offenses look good. So I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, and I feel like that number by the time Saturday rolls around is 68.
Probably
goes up a little more. Money comes in and it moves.
Yeah. I'm also going to go with an over under. I'm going to go over 62.5 in Oregon State. I think this has a chance to be one of the highest scoring Civil Wars in a long time. Bo Nix, obviously that offense is humming. DJ, they played okay. They scored 20 points last week. But I mean, it could be even a blow. I could see Oregon scoring 40, 50 points.
That would be my lean on the over. Is Oregon scores like 45, and they score like 20 something, and it goes over, but it's never close.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I'm thinking with that pick. So give me Oregon State over 62.5.
Fourth pick. We're going to the Alabama-Auburn game. We're going to the Iron Bowl. The number of 14.5 was a little too steep for my blood, but Bama -7.5 for the first half.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of talked about it earlier. They've become a little bit of a front runner to take pressure off the team in the second half. And I think Nick Saban has realized that. He knows he has to get out there and score early. So I think I read this on the Arizona game last week. I was like, I think Arizona gets out to a big lead early. I think Bama does the same thing. Now the game might end closer. I don't know if they cover a 14.5, but I feel much better about them going into halftime like up 21 to 7 or something, 21 to 10. That they score a couple times and get a good lead in the first half. So I'm feeling better about the 7.5 for a half of football than a 14.5 for a full game.
My fourth pick, I'm gonna take Florida +6. I had them at +6. It's gone up to 6.5, I believe. Yes, it's gone up to 6.5. Actually, I had them at 6.5. Never mind, +6.5. Florida State is playing without Jordan Travis. That doesn't give me warm and fuzzy feelings. Graham Mertz has played really, really well down these last 2 games. I think it could be close. I don't think Florida wins, but I do think they cover the spread. I think they're going to try to make this a game with Florida State, especially with bowl eligibility being on the line. So I do think that Florida wins, or not wins, but Florida covers the +6.5.
Yeah, +6.5. Yep.
All right.
My final one, we're going to the Mountain West. There's a very interesting matchup going out on the Mountain West. It's San Jose State at UNLV. This UNLV team is really, really solid. It's a good overall team. They're great against the spread, but the San Jose State team has played a bunch of really tough opponents this year.
Yeah, they have.
Well,
they played USC. They played Oregon State.
And they got beat by Oregon State, but they hang in there. They beat good teams, and their quarterback, Correado, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's been around for a long time. He was at Hawaii beforehand, if I recall, maybe even another school in between. And ULV has a rookie or a redshirt freshman quarterback. So I'm going to be end up taking San Jose State +2.5. UNLV's kind of first big home game in a while at that new stadium, but I think the San Jose team is well coached with a older, experienced quarterback that's played really well against really good teams, and I think they'll cover. They'll taking the 2.5 with them is nice. I feel like it could be a 1-score game right there at the end, and I'll take some points on those guys.
Bradley, it's time.
Oh, stunner states. Let's go. Personality switch.
It's time. It's time. It's time to give my true thoughts.
My
last pick, Nebraska -2.5, because we ain't
ride it.
Iowa. Their corn sucks. I cannot stand the stupid ass Hawkeyes. I do not care. I would take the under, but I want the over to hit just so that we win the game. Chubba Purdy is going to put his nuts on Kirk Ferentz's face. Give me Huskers -2.5. I love it. Go Big Red. Ride or die. Let's
GBR. Let's go.
I'm so tired of losing to Iowa.
Let's go.
It ends. We go bowling.
Best we could do. Let's get it rocking.
Right,
love it.
Brad.
Love it.
Your picks.
All right. My picks. My first pick is Oregon -13.5 over Oregon State. My second pick is Ohio State +3.5 over Michigan. My third pick is Texas A&M at LSU over 66. My fourth pick is -7.5 first half for Alabama over Auburn. And my fifth pick, San Jose State +2.5 over UNLV. Let's ride it. It's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a great week of college football.
I've got Mizzou -9, Oregon State over 62.5, Michigan -3, Florida +6.5, and Nebraska -2.5.
We didn't mention that, the Breadster came back. You put out an ultimatum for me last week on college football to get my record up, and I went 4-1 last week.
Yeah.
And the SMU game, I lost that cover with 40 seconds left in the game.
Oh yeah, that was
I was there the whole entire time. I was watching the game. It was a close one. So the system stays. The system still works.
System works.
The system's still there. You just gotta stay. You have up weeks and down weeks.
Brad, take Nebraska -2.5. Put that on your card.
I don't know.
Take it. Take it.
There's a lot of money.
Or take a money line. Or take a money line.
I started betting all these Sunday games. I was like, I already have a shit ton of money moved on Thursday too. This is a lot. I was like, oh god, I really, luckily I had. We'll get to it in Brad's DGen corner. A big winner this week, which helped boost my bankroll a lot.
Oh man! All right, now to NFL. The NFL slate, we're going to be talking about the Turkey Bowl. Commies at Cowboys.
Yes.
Dallas minus 12.5. Over-unders 48.5. My take real quick.
Give it to us.
Dallas, they're a juggernaut right now. They're playing really well on offense. Their defense is humming. I kind of like the Commies to cover the 12.5.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. I think Sam Howell has a chance to pick apart the defensive backs for Dallas. If they can keep him clean, I think they have a chance in this game. Brad.
Yeah, I have bashed on my terrible, terrible franchise multiple times in the past. It is Dallas hate week, so I'm going to go into this with full unabashed, like we're going to win this game, even though I don't actually think we're going to win this game. The way this game plays out in my head is we don't cover or we win outright. Like there's no in between. We get our doors blown off or we take them to the end. And Dallas fans, from everything I've been kind of reading online, are scared a little bit because we have this tendency to beat them with bad Alex Smith play, with Garrett Gilbert. We have this weird tendency to beat them in situations that don't look great. And we also kind of have their number on Thanksgiving. My fondest childhood memory of the year before I went to college was the 2012 RG3 game where we just absolutely trounced them.
Yeah, that's a good memory.
Chest bump with my dad. My family left Thanksgiving early because we were so loud. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think that I'm become less certain of us firing all our coaches afterwards because of how Josh Harris has handled this situation before. And I don't think there's people to replace some of these guys. And EB is still trying to figure out this offense. And I don't think they want to pull him away from Sam. I think in a sense they will say, we'll just lose games with Ron and Del Rio and let EB bond more with Hal and figure it out after the season.
No, that makes sense.
So I think the Washington team's defense is terrible and that Dallas offense is great, but Washington's offense is underrated in a sense, but people like Hal. We love Hal.
I like him a lot.
We're
a Sam Howell podcast.
Yes, we're a pro Sam Howell podcast. The guy has done everything you want to see out of a rookie. He has developed pocket presence. He has developed his footwork, which was the big complaint coming out of him in college. Great arm, better decision-making. We saw some bad errors in the last game, but at the same time, he was trying to do more because of how bad the rest of the team was playing. He was overextending. So, I'll be watching. Obviously, everyone's going to be watching. Excited because it's Dallas Hayes week, and I'm just hoping to beat him because, a successful season to me could be 2 wins, and if both are Dallas, it's a good year.
I agree.
It's a good year.
I agree. Next game, we've got the battle for the AFC title. Jags at Texans. Jags are favored by 2. Over under 48.5. My thoughts are, why are they favored?
Yeah.
Why are they favored? They blew the tops off of the Titans last week, and Houston struggled with Arizona. So I guess that's the example. Obviously, Nate would probably take Jacksonville.
All right, with his boys, give him credit.
But I kind of like Houston in this spot.
Yeah,
right here.
Home dog intrigues you for sure. I had a really tough time handicapping this game. The Houston team is really solid. Obviously, they're upcoming, but it is rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, great quarterback, great coach. Defense is starting to play a little better. Obviously, looked really good against Will Levis and not great against a juggernaut San Fran team.
Yeah.
But I had a really tough time feeling a vibe on this game because that line I saw a stat this week about how many games have ended with 1 point this year. And it feels like this is another one, right? Like this feels like the Jags are down and they kick a field goal to win it and they win by 1. This game feels like a 1 point game, and I don't like either way on that number.
Agreed.
So I had a lot. I have a pick on this game, but it is not for the anything with the actual teams.
There you go.
So
there you go. I think
it's probably the game of Sunday though, right? It's going to be.
Oh, for sure, absolutely, yeah.
Especially in that early slate, like this is the one you're going to lock in on.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Next game we've got the Chiefs at Raiders. Chiefs
Rivalry.
minus 8.5. Over under 42.5. Again, I said this on Wednesday's podcast. I would hate to be the Raiders. And I think this is a spot where the Chiefs will show up, flex their muscles, and be like, we're done with this. We're done with all the bullshit. We're done. We're going to figure it out. hell or high water. That game on Monday, I think, lit a fire under a lot of these offensive players. Kelsey obviously talked about it on New Heights, about how they just needed to cut out the mistakes and everything like that. It's easier said than done, but I think they can get it done this week. I like the Chiefs -8.5, though. Here.
Oof. Yeah, I think this is going to be that Raiders defense is probably a little underrated. And the Kansas City offense has not been firing on all cylinders. I still would probably pull and lean towards Chiefs overall.
Yeah.
For the game, but I don't think it's gonna be low scoring and it's gonna be close.
Probably.
And I'm worried about the Chiefs fixing the mistakes they're making. Andy Reid's such a great coach, but like he's a great coach coming out of the bye. He did not look prepared last week, and they made a bunch of dumb mistakes. It was raining; it's tougher. We get it, but it's been consistent, especially in the second half. Just not looking like a solid football team. So I'm a little worried about the Chiefs just overall. The wide receiver thing we kept talking about. Who cares? Mahomes elevates everyone around him, but if the guys are dropping the ball, it doesn't matter if you put it in your hands. Like he can't elevate guys' hands. Like they can't do that. You can place it perfectly, but they drop it. So I have a pick on this game, but I am intrigued to see how they respond
Bounce
after
back.
last week. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see the response, and I think that could be a big definitive factor for how they play the rest of the year. Also, the Chiefs' defense is fantastic, and they're going against Aiden O'Connell, so they should win handily. But let's hope the offense gets into gear a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. Going from one AFC team to another, Bills at Eagles. Thank God Nate's not on here to say I'm tired of watching the Bills. But Bills at Eagles. Philly is favored by -3.5. Over-under is 48.5. My take is hammer the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one.
Also, they're going to be wearing their Kelly Greens.
Oh, so that's a game changer.
That's
intangibles right there.
That's intangible. That might. Yeah, no, honestly, that is the sickest jersey.
Now the Chargers wear powder blues all the time. Because when they used to break them out on special occasions, you're like, that's
they used to have the black with the darker blue uniforms.
Yeah.
But now that the baby blues, like I do love those
I
uniforms.
do love the baby blues, and they look great. They're probably the best uniforms in the NFL, but it was nice when they were the surprise. Now it's the Kelly Greens to me. Or the nice, Kelly Greens. Oh, hell yeah, they're rocking the Kelly Greens. Let's lock in to see a great intangible uniform movement here. What I was going to get on with this one is that the public is massively on Buffalo, and the Sharps are massively on Buffalo at this +3 number. That's now +3.5, +3. Like there are a lot of people hammering Buffalo, and it's like we kind of just forgot what Philly did with their C game to the Chiefs, and Buffalo's looked like a disaster. Badly coached, mistake-riddled team, not just Josh Allen, like everybody.
Yeah.
And the defense is decimated with injuries. Like it's a good defense on paper if you ignore everybody on the IR. I'm confused by how everyone's going after this Buffalo team.
I agree.
Feels like Philly should be massive favorites, but
no, I totally agree. I totally agree because I think the key to the game is how many yards does DeAndre Swift have? They are so bad at stopping the run.
Yep.
They are just so bad at stopping the run. I think that's the key. Is that I don't understand why everybody's on the Bills. Like, yes, they had a good game last week, but like before then they were dog shit. So I am definitely taking the Eagles here. I think they're gonna probably win by 7. Maybe.
Gives me too cute vibes. The golf adage, too cute. Emma Watson, like you're trying to cut a ball around a corner and do all this crazy stuff instead of just punching out and taking your licks. Feels like everyone's trying to be a little too cute with the Bills. They're just trying to be like, oh, this is a contrarian pick. But if everyone's going at it, it's not.
It's not. It's not cute. It's not cute, Richard.
Not cute at all. No Emma Watson on that one.
Yeah, no Emma Watson. Too cute. No, too cute. And to the Sunday night game. Sunday night.
There we go. Yeah. Beautiful.
Ravens at Chargers. Baltimore -3.5. Over under 48.5. I think this is another line here. How is this not more than 7? This makes zero sense to me. Baltimore has been playing lights out they weren't playing. They had lot. It's crazy. It's just
you look at their losses though, like they lose to a Cleveland team at the end of a game. The Cleveland just kind of had like the luck in their favor. They lose to Pittsburgh and you just one, Pittsburgh Devil Magic, as we've talked, my comma Devil Magic.
Yeah.
Kind of throw that one out in a sense. Like the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Ravens games are always just like, no, you never know what's going to happen. It doesn't matter. Pittsburgh could never win a game and beat the Ravens out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they lose to Indy early in the season, which was like a weird game. It was nasty weather. Like it just didn't feel right. And like every win they've had has been definitive.
Yeah, it's
They've
crazy.
just dominated teams otherwise.
Yeah, and the Chargers
Shit
man. They just
they keep charging. Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't. I just don't think that they are going to figure it out. I just don't understand why this line is -3.5. Like it just doesn't. It screams stay away.
Yeah,
screams stay away.
Such a weird.
I would
line.
take the under here.
Yeah.
I don't. If there was a play, I would take the under. I just don't think these. I don't think these two can score.
Ride the money line under or the night game unders, right?
Yeah,
the
night game
unders
unders
are crazy.
Yeah,
right now.
That too.
Yep.
But that's it for the NFL slate. There were a lot of other good games that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of solid games this week. Can't talk too much about Thursday, which had probably the best like 3 games. That Green Bay Lions games could be awesome to start.
Yeah, it's just gonna watch the Lions just shit can the
Stanford, Seattle should have been an interesting game, but it doesn't sound like Geno's playing.
Ooh, really now?
I think I saw someone today. He's probably doubtful. Kenneth Walker's out. So it seems like that matchup that could have been good.
Yeah.
Trending down a little bit, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, maybe Brock will win and he'll again get on a plane and go to Lincoln, watch his little brother play.
Yeah.
Hopefully. NFL Pickems. Brad, your first pick.
First pick. We just talked about this game. Ravens -3.5 over the Chargers. Can't figure out why this line is that low for a Ravens team that has dominated good teams all year and lost fluky. Lamar's healthy. Team's pretty healthy overall outside of losing Marlon Humphreys a little earlier. Defense looks stellar. I can't, and the Chargers will continue to charge it.
Sounds about right. My first pick, I'm going +2 with the Texans against the Jags. I just think CJ Stroud is better than Trevor Lawrence right now. The records might not show it, but the Texans also beat them earlier in the year in Jacksonville. So I like the Texans here +2.
All righty. My second pick, we're going Chiefs at Raiders, and we're going to the under 43. This number has moved down a little bit, but I still feel like this is low scoring. It feels like a 21-10 game because of the Chiefs' inability in the second half recently, and I don't know if Andy Reid can't solve the problem of the receivers being terrible in a week. So I think they win, but I don't think it's a full return to form for the Chiefs. But the defense is so good and the Raiders offense is so bad that they win and it stays under.
Yeah, I'm going to the New England Patriots Giants game. New England's favored by 3.5. Give me the Giants. I think after Tommy DeVito threw all over the commies, the Patriots defense hasn't shown anything this year. Yes, they're coming off a bye, but how much is that really going to help them? Like that Giants defense is scrappy. They can get you to turn the ball over. And I like the Giants +3.
My next one will be Saints Atlanta under 42.5. This number is actually, 42.5. The numbers kept moving down too. It's still at 42.5, but it opened way higher. New Orleans is 3-7 over under this year, so they've hit the under way more, and Atlanta's 4-6 towards the under. Yeah. So they both kind of nail the under. Both defenses are solid, and both you have Jameis Winston quarterbacking. That could be a recipe for disaster. And Atlanta still has Arthur Smith as their head coach, who is unaware that he has like 3 really good playmakers on offense. And I don't even know who's quarterbacking them this week. I don't know if it's going to be Heineke or Ritter or who. Don't feel good about a lot of points coming in this one, even with the loss of Lattimore or Nola. Still don't feel good about them scoring a lot. So I'll take the under on that game.
I am going to go back to the Chiefs Raiders. I am going to take the Chiefs -8.5. This might be the kiss of death. I probably should have just taken the under like you, Brad. But I think this is a game where the Chiefs, I think if this is going to be a game, they need to put it on. I think they're going to take their frustration out on little brother. And I think that's a possibility. You might not think it is, but I know this team. I've watched them play all year. Yes, they've struggled at the wide receiver position this year, and it's very apparent. Can't fix it overnight, but I do think that Kelsey's kind of fed up, and I think he's going to try to have himself a career game against the Raiders, which he had his last game against the Raiders. He had, he didn't have a whole bunch of yards, but he did have 4 touchdowns. So
I'll say
I would,
my handicap on the game still fits your pick.
yes,
Like the 21-10. Like that still fits them covering. But
yeah. So I like the Chiefs minus 8.5.
my fourth pick. So went back to the lab a little bit after a good week and went back and looked at how I was winning last year. And anytime touchdowns were a big thing for me. And so I'm going Jags, Texans, and I don't have a number on it yet because the market's not out. But anytime touchdown for Tank Dell.
Oh,
Tank Dell's been a stud. I think they kind of can get at that Jags defense. The Jags defense is a little bit better probably than we think they are, but they don't play to their ability. And Tank Dell has been just a solid target for CJ anytime he's under pressure. He's a first look a ton of the time. I like to get Tank Dell to get a touchdown in that game.
Yeah, I like that pick. I like that pick a lot. If I could do one, I'd do Tank Dell anytime touchdown. I am going to Eagles, Bills, minus 3.5. They're wearing the Kelly greens. The Bills aren't good on defense. I think Jalen and them, they did struggle against the Chiefs a little bit on being able to throw the ball, but the Chiefs secondary is 10 times better than the Bills. Bills give up points like it's nobody's business. They've struggled against bad teams, and the only good team that they have really beaten, Dolphins. And how good are the Dolphins?
Yeah.
So with that logic, I am taking Philly or the Eagles minus 3.5.
All right. My final pick. We're going with the Friday game. Had to have action on it because the action, to quote my favorite movie, Heat, the action is the juice. So looking at that game, the line has moved massively after Tim Boyle is announced as the starter, which is I don't know how that guy's a professional quarterback.
Neither do I.
However, not looking at any of the actual game moves here. We're going back to anytime touchdown, and I got Tyreek Hill anytime touchdown at plus 100 to get a plus number on Tyreek to score a touchdown. What? Every other book I looked at, except for Caesars, had him as a minus number to score, and Caesars had him at a plus 100, and I nabbed that real quick. He has been the best receiver in football this year.
Yep. Might be the MVP.
Maybe an MVP run, definitely an offensive player of the year run. And I like getting him at a plus number to score a touchdown against a bad Jets team, even with a good defense. Give it to me. He's a true game breaker. So little action to root for in a kind of probably crappy game otherwise.
Yeah. I'm staying with that game. I'm taking the Dolphins minus 9.5. They're the better team. I think they're just gonna Jets. The Jets defense, I think, isn't going to be able to keep up with Tyreek. I think they're going to get the run game going. I don't know if Achane is going to play. They haven't said.
Yeah, up in the air right now still.
Still up in the air. I need him to have a really big game if he is going to play against the Jets. But yeah, I like Miami minus 9.5. I feel like this is a bad idea to do that. I've taken 3 straight favorites, but
yeah,
I'm gonna roll with it. My record hasn't been too bad. So, Brad, your picks.
My 5 picks. We're going Baltimore minus 3.5 over the Chargers. We're gonna go Chiefs Raiders under 43. We're gonna go Saints Atlanta under 42.5. We're gonna go anytime touchdown for Tank Dell in the Jags Texans game. And then we're going to go anytime touchdown Tyreek Hill in the Dolphins Jets.
All right. My picks are Texans +2, Giants +3, Chiefs minus 8.5, Eagles minus 3.5, and Dolphins minus 9.5. Brad, since it's Thanksgiving, do you have a D-Gen pick that follows with the Thanksgiving tradition?
Yeah, we don't have a D-Gen play this week because there is just football galore and there's nothing else going on.
That's true.
But we hit a big winner last week with Ludwig Abear winning the RSM Classic in definitive fashion. First win, big win. Bankroll is much improved now. It was a nice win for me. And stuck with a good system bet of a guy that just played really, really well. But what I wanted to touch on instead was it's one of my favorite times of the year. It is MLB Hall of Fame ballot time.
There you go.
The last real Hall of Fame in sports is the MLB Hall of Fame. They are very, very particular.
It is a very weird,
tough place to get in the Hall. You see a lot more. It's changed a ton in the past few years. There's been a lot more push on the analytics and a little less biasy towards the traditional stats, which I like. That's a good way to measure baseball because it's the most analytic of any of the sports. So I'm just going to give my ballot. You get 10 votes as a ballot giver.
Ooh, okay.
I went with all 10 because it's fun to go with all 10. There is a lot of guys don't vote all 10. There's definitely guys at the bottom of my list that aren't Hall of Famers but deserve some flowers and they'll get some votes. So we're going to rattle off my ballot, and I'll give a little piece on some of these guys. My first ballot pick, Todd Helton. He's at the top right now. He's got 78% last year. Todd Helton is one of the best hitters to play the game. He played in Coors, and he gets a lot of Coors bias, but even then, the guy finished his career with a 953 OPS. He's a fantastic hitter. They shouldn't hold Coors against him, and I think he gets in anyway. The next one is Billy Wagner. Bill Wagner comes in, fantastic closer, finished his career with under a 2.3 ERA, underrated at a time where there's a ton of other really good closers going on between Mariano Rivera, Joe Nathan, and he was kind of an under the radar guy, but he's got a lot of votes the past couple of years and has looked a lot better. And I think he gets, I don't know if he makes it this year, but he's going to get close. The next one is going to be Carlos Beltran. Beltran's second year on the ballot. I think last year, he, to me, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Beltran's one of the most impressive players I've ever seen. He was unbelievable in his early career. He's like a 30-30 guy, always really solid, played for a ton of teams, especially in modern baseball where they had a lot, they realized that in your clubhouse you needed two leaders. You needed a Latin American leader and you needed an American guy. He became that for a lot of his later teams in New York and Texas and Houston. He was a huge part of that. He is like the definition of great baseball player, one Rookie of the Year, up there in MVP votes, a lot of All-Stars. I think he's close to a top 100 player of all time. So he got dinged last year for the cheating scandal. I think that was his punishment. They knock him up. The next one, Adrian Beltran, first year on it. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best third basemen to play the game. He's probably a top 5 third baseman in my mind. No doubter, should get in immediately. Gold Glover just played a unbelievably good career. Never had a down year. I loved Adrian Beltran growing up. And the next one, again, first year on the ballot. This is a guy that growing up as a catcher, I wanted to be this man. It was Joe Mauer. He's one of the few catchers to win multiple hitting titles. He won an MVP at catcher. His career fell off towards the end because of injuries, and he played a lot of first base towards the end of his career. Multi-time Gold Glover, Silver Slugger. Catchers are judged on a different level than most others. He doesn't have counting stats like some of the other guys, but you look at his contemporaries, there's not a whole lot of catchers that win MVP. I couldn't tell you the next one that's going to win it. I hope it's Adley Rutschman, but I don't know if he ever will because his counting stats will never be there. So Joe Mauer, to me, definition of a Hall of Famer, should get in. Next one, Andrew Jones, all-time slugger, fantastic center fielder, Gold Glover in center field. Career really fell off hard at the end. He probably never makes it, but that is a pure flowers pick. Shout out to Andrew Jones for being an absolute stud and a guy that a lot of young Latin players now look up to. Then we're going to go to steroid era guys. There's not enough time in this podcast for me to share my feelings in the steroid era, but I'm going to put it this way. How I break it down to was most of the people who were doing it, he was betting against people doing steroids. He was hitting against other guys doing steroids. And all the guys that they hold up in the olden days that were not doing performance-enhancing drugs like steroids, they were taking greenies, they were doing a bunch of other stuff, they were loading up spitballs. I don't want to hold it against A-Rod anymore. He might be a jackass, but if a dude hits 696 home runs, it's my same feeling with Bonds. If you do it that much, I don't care how juiced up you were, that's unbelievable.
I agree.
And same with Manny. Manny's an all-time slugger. He's an all-time character in baseball. You can't tell the story of baseball, especially those early 2000 Red Sox teams without Manny
I would
Ramirez
agree.
on there.
I would agree.
So I don't think they're going to make it because of the steroid era, but just want to those two guys are Hall of Famers in anybody's book. You ask top 100, top 10 players, both those guys, or A-Rod's a top 10 player of all time.
And
the last two guys that won't make it, but just want to shout out for great careers. David Wright was an absolute stud for the Mets, Captain America, loved the WBC, Rookie of the Year winner. He was the definition of what it looks like to be an everyday ball player until he started just getting ravaged by injuries. Sorry, he wasn't a Rookie of the Year winner, just a multi-time All-Star. Ton of Gold Gloves, man to hot corner, and loved David Wright growing up. But he won't make it. But just, you get the down the ballot votes to shout guys you like. And the other guy I've always loved watching was Matt Holliday. He gets some down the line votes. Guy that hit 300. How many homers did he end with? Ended with.
He was a big home run hitter later in his career.
316 home runs, was a solid. You always, if Matt Holliday was on your team, you were happy.
Yeah.
Not a Hall of Famer in my book, but want to give him his flowers. Just say, hey man, great career. Here's some votes. Enjoy your time being one of the better hitters for a long, long time, and he'll get the Coors effect a little bit too. But
yeah, that's true.
One of the funnest guys to watch when I was growing up. That's my ballot. It's gonna be a good year for baseball with the ballot. I think you're gonna Chase Utley was probably the one guy I left off. That I probably put David Wright and Holiday over. Utley to me was always the third best guy on really good Phillies teams, fourth best guy on really Phillies team. Was never the best guy on his team, where there were times David Wright and Matt Holiday were the best player on their team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I kind of always give credit to the guys that they were the number one dude. Jimmy Rollins last year getting into the Hall. Jimmy Rollins is probably a Hall of Famer, or not Jimmy Rollins. Scott Rowland is a Hall of Famer, but he was never the best guy on any of this Phillies teams. So it's always weird for me to see that. So shout out to those two. Chase Utley falls in that. Scott Rowland, maybe he gets in one day, but I don't think he does.
Maddox is in the Hall of Fame, right?
Oh yeah. He if I recall, Greg Maddox actually has the most votes ever.
Which makes sense because the guy is so likable,
but not unanimous.
Which is dumb.
Which is crazy. But I was reading about today. He had 555 first place votes, but there was 560 something voters at the time. Where you get was it Mario Rivera when it is unanimous, but way less votes, 100 less votes.
That's crazy.
So Maddox is if maybe in the off season we do a little deep dive on some start your number one starting lineup, things like that. Maddox would be in my
would be in my rotation.
My rotation for sure.
He'd be in my rotation. Most of mine are going to be Cubs because I'm biased as hell.
Look, the best quote of a pitcher ever is Greg Maddox just going, "I'm going to throw you an 89 mile per hour slider at the sinker at the bottom of the zone. Good luck." It's going to be dotted, and good luck hitting it. Try.
I remember watching him throw one of his complete games in Wrigley.
It's unbelievable.
And it was probably one of the top 10 sports moments of my life. But
100%.
That's going to be it for this podcast. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Nate wasn't able to be on. He's with family. Hope he has a great Thanksgiving. But that's going to be it for this episode. Brad, where can the good people follow you?
You can find me on Bread469 on Instagram. That's where it's at.
Booty. You can find us at Gridiron Guys _ on Twitter. But if you like what you see, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you never miss any of our content. That's gonna be it. It's rivalry week.
It's rivalry week.
Dallas, Iowa, the Raiders, Iowa again because they deserve it. And as always, it's personal.
It's personal.
See you guys.